What makes high earning doctors' tax situation different from regular business owners?
It's not much different, but it depends if the doctor is working under salary, which then it's hard to do a lot of tax planning inside the salary realm versus what we do on the investment side. Business owners, if the doctor is a practice owner, there's so many more things we can do because there's flexibility in how we structure the practice, the income, the asset protection, the benefits, everything. So it's not that doctors are, and people have asked me this before. I don't know. I wrote a book, 2016, The Six Biggest Tax Mistakes That Physicians Make. And it was because I was finding that there was this pandemic going on with doctors and their lack of good advice. They're getting hounded by all the insurance salesmen and mutual fund salesmen, and they really weren't getting good advice. So I wrote that book back in 2016. And I guess for some reason, it just took off, and one doc refers another doc, refers another doc, and here we are.
Let's say you say most financial institutions actually want you to underspend. Is that paranoid?
No, no, I've heard it directly from leaders of these big companies. One of the ways that they get to do this is something called a Monte Carlo simulation. This was something that was the Monte Carlo theory. It's a computer algorithm. It was actually invented in 1955. The guy that invented it, Harold Markowitz, he actually got a Nobel Prize for it. But the financial institutions have just hatcheted it up into a sales tool. So when you run a Monte Carlo simulation and you go to 9 out of 10 financial advisory firms or companies, they're always going to want to do the Monte Carlo simulation. What it does is you put your income in, you put your assets in, and then they ask you what your risk tolerance is, which is a whole other subject. And then they run this simulation. And here's what the simulation says. Let's say you're 60, it's going to run it out to 90. So you got 30 years. They're going to use an average rate of return on that portfolio. And then what they're going to do is they're going to come up with a simulation to give you a certain confidence level. Well, that's geared to have you not spend as much money because you don't want to see your confidence level go down and you have the potential for running out of money. But you got to question who's programming the calculator. What is their bias? What is their conflict of interest? And every financial institution, from a bank to a brokerage to a custodian, how do they make money? Retention of assets, float. So if you look at a bank, why does the bank now put a limit on how much you can take out on an ATM or how much you can cash out? They want to keep that money in there. They want to float it as long as they can. If you've ever had arguments about getting money out of institutions, insurance companies, the worst. Try to get money out of an insurance company. It's like, bending a rusty nail. Why? Every day it builds up their EBITDA and their float. So I don't think it's a conspiracy theory. I think it's just basic capitalistic mechanism of how a financial institution makes money. Any way that they can hold on the assets, they're going to make money.